Hello, everybody. We're going to be starting shortly. Ben's going to join us, and then we'll launch. We're giving it a little bit of time to let some more people join. We got some people joining us on Zoom and also Facebook Live. So have some patience, and we'll begin.
Good evening, everyone. We ready to go?
I think we're ready. We're just waiting for Sandra to step on camera, and then we're ready.
It's not letting me do video. It says the host has blocked my video.
Mine was too, Sandra. I had to log out and log back in.
Log out, log back in. Okay, I'll try that.
I was in makeup.
I was peppering my gray hair a little bit.
Here she is.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Let's get started. Thanks for joining us today for our Central Valley Real Estate Market Update Part 2. We have lots to discuss today. I'll be monitoring Zoom, Facebook Live for your questions. So if you see me looking to the side here and there, I'm looking for your questions on Facebook Live and on Zoom. So ask away. Let's get started with some introductions. We got Sandra Yates from Scenic Oaks Funding. She's been doing loans for 22 years. And in the last 12 months, she has done 162 loans and nearly 43 million in volume. And that's a lot of loans, a lot of experience. We have Aaron West experience at PMZ Real Estate. He's been selling real estate for 15 years. Aaron has 3 buyer's agents, 1 listing agent, and 3 admin staff. And in the last 12 months, his team has sold 122 homes, nearly 50 million in volume. We have Andy and Daniel Del Real from the Del Real Group of PMZ Real Estate. Andy has been in real estate for the last 14 years, Daniel 16 years. They have 7 sales agents. And in the last 12 months, they have sold 269 homes for nearly 90 million in volume. So between the West experience and Del Real Group, they've sold nearly 400 homes in the last 12 months. And that's a heck of a lot of knowledge and experience for you guys to glean from today. My name is Ben Balsba. This is my 20th year in real estate. I currently serve as president of the residential division of PMZ Real Estate, where we have about 650 agents serving Northern California. Just give you a little fun fact. Sandra, Aaron, and his wife Jennifer, and myself are all learning to homeschool. Daniel and his wife Andrea have been homeschooling their kids for a couple of years, so they're all veterans. And Andy and his wife Kim, they're currently homeschooling 4 pets. So if anyone has any homeschooling tips, let us know. It could be challenging. My son is suddenly realizing that he actually did like school and his teachers. Mm-hmm. Well, let's get started. So questions. I'm getting so many questions these days regarding mortgage payments, as I know some of you are too. I recently met with a couple who are trying to decide if they should keep making payments. One spouse was laid off, the other had their hours cut. Some people are in some tough situations today, and we keep hearing the word forbearance. And for those of you who don't know exactly what forbearance is, it's an agreement between the lender and a borrower to temporarily suspend your mortgage payments. So Sandra, I guess the question is, what happens if someone skips a few payments? What are the ramifications? Are they going to owe the money in 3 months? Help us understand. What do you know on this topic?
Sure. So I think the main thing to remember is a forbearance is just a suspension of, it's not forgiveness of the debt being due. So the first thing that if you are experiencing hardship due to COVID, all of the servicers have been given certain guidelines to allow you to have your loan payments in forbearance for initially the first 90 days. And then if it's continued as far as your economic situation, potentially another 90 days. I would encourage you, if you can continue to make your payments in full, make your payments. If you can't and you do enter into a forbearance, remember that at the end of that period, the servicing company can handle the difference in payments that you haven't made several different ways. They may require them all be due in month 4. They may take that gap and extend it out over a 12-month period and then increasing your mortgage payments. I would encourage you, if you, for example, if your mortgage payment is $2,000 and your income is cut and you can only afford $1,000, keep that $1,000 aside, even if you do need to do a forbearance. So that way in month 4, maybe you have some money to put towards that. So as you return to work and your hardship situation changes, you're not going to be looking at a huge payment increase that could potentially become unaffordable for you. And definitely don't just skip a payment. Call your servicing department, explain what's going on, look at the number on your mortgage statement that you make the payment to every month, and explain your situation to them. And of course, seek the advice of them and another trusted lender, that may be somebody that is in the business, to review any documentation you have. That way, if you had any other options that maybe could have been a longer term solution for you, we make sure that you've looked at everything before you end up missing that first initial payment.
Daniel, didn't you have something from Wells Fargo on this, what they were doing?
Yeah, they're making it fairly easy if you need help. And I could share what that looks like right now on the screen. Sandra, if you want to just kind of guide people through it, I'll log on to my Wells Fargo account and you'll see what that looks like. So give me a quick second here and I'll share my screen.
Some banks are tacking onto the end of the principal, right?
They have a few options. So what Daniel will show us here is really common, which you'll see if you log into your major bank's website when you go to make a payment. When you apply for the initial forbearance, you don't have to have a repayment plan established. You're going to log in. They're going to tell you that you may qualify for forbearance, and you're correct. The options would be over a 3-month payment if you miss them. It could be due in month 4. They could spread the difference over 12 months, and then some banks may offer you to pay it at the end of your loan balance. But if you log in right here where Daniel's showing you, this is really common as to what it would look like on a major bank's website if you do need to apply.
Daniel, go ahead. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and click on this. And as you can notice, it gives you an option. You go down here and it says payments will be suspended for the next 3 months. Won't be any late fees. I think the big thing is this sentence or this paragraph right here. At the end of the initial 3-month payment suspension, we will guide you to the next steps, which may include, and it asks a bunch of different things that may happen. So going back to what Sandra said, just make sure that if you have an economic impact and you are going to take the forbearance, that you know whether you're going to owe that money right away, whether it's going to be at the end of the loan. And the way that some of these are, it leaves it open to the lenders to decide what exactly is going to happen to you.
And I think that's kind of the scary part of it, is that if you can make your payments, just like Sandra said, you definitely should, because it's up to their discretion as far as if they can. And I know that there are some banks that are planning on calling it due after 4 months and say, you owe us 4 months worth of rent. And that's something that we just don't want to have that happen. So if you can, make sure you make your payments.
And can I share something? And I know we didn't cover this before, but I just finished with Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department. We're doing an informational video. And one of the things that I think is going to come up is fraud. So be cautious too. If you have people calling you, asking you that they'll submit this paperwork for you so you could get a forbearance, you could do this directly with your servicer yourself. In the short sale days where people are doing loan modifications, time and time again, we'd hear that people would pay $2,500 for somebody to do this for them, and nothing would happen. And they'd end up 3, 4, 5, 6 months behind. They didn't want to lose their home, but now they didn't have a choice. So I'd be very cautious and only use it if you really had an economic impact.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions I think you guys probably kind of answered it was, if someone's thinking about selling their home in the next couple of months, probably not a good idea to risk the forbearance option, huh?
Yeah, I would say that. And also, Sandra, you might want to touch base on, we've had some questions saying, hey, we're cutting expenses down in budgets. What is the forbearance an only option for me? And I think in some cases it's not. We tell clients if you could get a drop of a 1% interest rate, you might be better off not doing the forbearance.
Yeah, I would say that another call before you miss that initial payment, I would encourage you to call or even talk to your current lender about the potential of refinancing, because sometimes it's not even a full point reduction. It could be a half or 3/4 of a point reduction if you've owned your home for a little while, and maybe the combination of lowering your rate and getting the mortgage insurance off of your loan to have a longer term savings. And then that way, if you qualify for that in terms of an overall benefit, that's going to be far more beneficial for you than a forbearance where it's just extending your current loan payments out. So it's a great idea to look at all of those options before you decide which step is the best one for you.
So if someone is looking at refi, Sandra, what are they looking at for rates right now for refining?
Yeah, rates are fantastic. And I pulled up just some data to get an idea. In the last 30 days, the overall rate changes are literally 0.10. So rates are 0.10 higher than they were 30 days ago today. So depending on your qualification, credit score, things like that, we're in the lower to mid 3% range on a 30-year loan. And that's almost a full point less than it was last year. So in terms of affordability and a good time to just look at all of your options, it's a great time.
You know, and in answer to that question of if they plan on selling in the next couple of months, should they do a forbearance? The caution would be is that your interest doesn't stop for that 4 months. So if you do 4 months, typically in most mortgage payments, the majority of what you pay is interest. So it's really not saving you any money by doing a forbearance, because, and then the concern would be is you do a 3-month forbearance, and then you put the house on the market and you take 30 days or 45 days for it to get sold, and you end up being farther behind and have penalties incurred. So, you know, that's something that each individual seller would have to make that decision, but you would want to be cautious for sure doing that. It's a game that you're playing that you just don't know how the bank is going to respond at the end of that forbearance period.
And let's not forget, you're also paying taxes and insurance, and your insurance company is not going to give you a forbearance, and your county assessor is not going to give you a forbearance. So, and depending on your outcome, if you're wanting to purchase later on, that might not be the best option for you to do a forbearance at all.
It could be risky. I'm monitoring the questions here. I've been kind of going back and forth. Another question we have is about COVID-19. Are things improving? Are things getting worse? I know Aaron has been spending a lot of time following COVID and the trends and so forth.
I don't know COVID-19. What are you talking about? I haven't heard anything about that at all.
Oh, man.
What do you think? That is a question that, Daniel's gotten, I've gotten, Andy's gotten. I think everybody in real estate has gotten. How has that affected it? And there's so much information that we just get information overload. I mean, the news networks, that's all they're covering. Everybody has something. And so what I did is I wanted to just gather some data from the websites that most professionals are going to, from hospital administrators, everything. And that's John Hopkins, the CDC website, the University of Washington, and then your local, California state, and then the local one. So I found some very interesting information. One of the things that a lot of people ask about or concerned about is, are we going to turn into New York? Because New York, it was like a bomb. I mean, it is very sad, and our hearts go out to those people. But what California has experienced and what New York experienced are two totally different worlds. They're apples and oranges. So this statistic right here, so this shows the orange is the cases in New York. The blue is cases in California. Now, New York has a population of almost 20 million, and they are very, very compact. California has a population of almost 40 million, and we're much more spread out. So the shelter-in-place order was March 19th. And as you can see from the trajectory of the two states, so California is in the blue, New York is in the red, that shelter-in-place has really worked well. And this is as of April 15th. So this was updated yesterday, the difference between California and New York. So that's really good news. And a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is actually good news. It's tough for the people that are experiencing it, but at the end of the day, this is just the data that's coming from these places. So the next screen is one of the things that Governor Newsom talked about, and you heard on the news a ton, was how many beds California was going to need at the peak of the COVID crisis. And actually statistically, and what all the different places are saying is this week is actually when the peak of the COVID crisis is supposed to be. From the 12th through the 20th is kind of the date that a lot of them came, and that's even what Gavin Newsom said. And he said on March 26th that California was going to need between 80 and 100,000 hospital beds for the COVID patients. And so where we are today is, and this is from ca.gov, last updated day before yesterday. So these are very current numbers. The total number of people who are positive COVID that are in hospitals right now is basically about 5,000 people. Of those 5,000 people, there's about 1,500 that are in the ICUs. So California has a total, if you look right here, total number of beds in California is 72,700. So of those 72,000 beds, we're only using about 5,000 of those right now for COVID patients, which, that's a lot of numbers. So I figured it out. It's about 6 used by COVID. So that COVID patients. So that's really good news that what we're doing is working really well. I went to the Johns Hopkins website because they're the one that's updated really well. It's really easy to see the different counties and the different states. I mean, the different counties and different states too, but we're set up on California right now. So for Sacramento right now, there's a total of 1.5 million total population, and they have 853 confirmed cases. And the sad thing is that 32 people have passed away from it. But for the number of people that are in California, again, that's a positive thing and a positive trend that we're seeing right now. For San Joaquin County, there's 752,000 people. We've had 314 confirmed cases, and 17 of those people have passed away of the 314. Stanislaus County, we have 549,000 total. There's 163. Actually, if you go to the Stanislaus County COVID website, you'll see that there's 177 positive since this has started. And all of these numbers too are since it has started. So of those 177, there's been 77 that have actually recovered and have been released or are considered that have the antibodies for the COVID-19. So what we're seeing is that, and then how that reflects back to real estate. And two weeks ago when we did our call, we talked a lot about, let me get off of this real fast here. 2 weeks ago when we got on our call, a lot of what we talked about was what things real estate agents are putting in place and what systems are being put in place to keep everybody as safe as possible. And I'm happy to say, and I know Daniel and I have talked about this, and Andy as well, that realtors are abiding by the guidelines that have been set forth in the shelter in place. San Joaquin County, as of last night, actually took away their shelter in place order and considered real estate agents essential again. California and the government considered real estate agents essential, but it was left up to each county. So San Joaquin, it is now okay to practice real estate. Stanislaus County, it is as well. And so everybody's been doing everything that they're supposed to, and hopefully that was good information for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, is there anything you wanted to add on the COVID?
No, I think a lot of it has to do with how quickly California responded to everything and how everybody took it serious. I mean, it was serious enough to shut down our economy, right? And I think this would be a lot worse if we wouldn't have done what we did. And of course, we're taking measures, like Aaron said, to keep everybody safe and at least be socially responsible to showing homes, because people still have to sell and buy. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it had to do with the quick action that everybody took to take care of this, or else these numbers would look a lot different. I think when we cover this in 2 weeks from today, if everybody wants another one in 2 weeks, we'll look at the real numbers. If we would have talked 2 weeks today and the numbers look worse, we would be covering that right now. But I'm happy to see that they're not as bad as what they were projected.
Yeah.
And real estate is changing with this as well. You will see, the Del Real Group and myself, the virtual tours, the live Facebook open houses, the 3D walkthroughs, all of those things that the market and real estate agents are quickly adapting so that we can serve our clients the way that they need to be served, because at the end of the day, we're fiduciaries for them, and we want to make sure that it's the best experience for them as possible moving through this whole thing.
Great.
And I'll add on there as well too, that I know this is, I know it's been in the talks, and, the social distancing is not going to go away anytime soon. I know there's talks about, expanding this, through possibly 2021. So, of course, no one wanted to go through the shelter in place. Obviously, it's a good thing that we did. We're kind of flattening that curve, getting ahead of it, and we just got to continue to stay patient, as we're going through all of this as well too.
All right, guys, here's a good question. People are people still able to afford to buy here, given the layoffs? It kind of sounds like an affordability index question. So for those of you who don't know, an affordability index is most often associated with housing costs. It measures, a person's ability to afford a home, assuming that they are earning the median family income for the area. So I don't know, Andy, you want to take this one? What are you seeing on the affordability index front?
So affordability, not very many people are talking about it. And I've been tracking the affordability index for some time now. I like to look at it when the California Association of Realtors releases it. It used to be back in 2006, it used to be a monthly thing that they released. Now they've changed it and it's a quarterly. And I like to review it to see, what's happening with the affordability index. Like you mentioned, affordability pretty much stands for percentage of households in a certain region that could financially afford to buy an average priced house in that marketplace. So to give you some live numbers, I'm going to share my screen, and I have the California Association of Realtors website up. Can you guys all see it?
Maybe zoom in one more time if you can.
Sure. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit here. Oh, I apologize. I cannot zoom in.
It's good. But we can read it.
But what you see here, it pretty much gives you the affordability index for the entire state of California. Now, the most recent information that we have was Q4 of 2019. I was hoping to be able to provide you guys with Q1 information, but unfortunately they haven't quite released that information. So I'm hoping on the next call that we do, if you guys decide that you want to hear more about this in the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping to have that information available for you. But across the entire state of California, we're at about 31% affordability. Now, if we want to be a little bit more specific and go into the Central Valley, look at San Joaquin County. In fourth quarter of 2018, we were at 38% affordability, and Stanislaus was at 45% affordability. But in the last year, we've actually increased, meaning that it become more affordable for residents in each county to be able to financially afford to buy a home. If you notice, at the end of 2019, affordability went up to almost 50%, which is a great sign. I know a lot of people reference back to the housing crash of 2007, 2008. Affordability back then, we got to remember was in the teens, almost single digits for the entire state of California. So this is a good sign to see. Affordability is still there. Obviously, with the raise of income that we're seeing, of course, the pandemic is gonna hold things off a little bit, but a lot of it is going to really depend, in my opinion, of how long this goes for. If this completely turns around in the next couple of weeks, then I don't think we're going to be affected as much. If this lingers for numerous months, then yes, we could see something affecting the real estate industry.
Good. Sandra, is there anything for you to add on that? Are you seeing buyers that you've been qualifying that you qualified a month ago that can't qualify today because of any changes, or we good on most?
For the most part, I would say that the changes, there have been some slight program changes, but it's really important to stay connected with your lender during this time. There's additional verifications of employment that have to be done. So we're finding sometimes that clients maybe have hours cut or things have changed within their financial position. So I would say if you're currently in the market and pre-qualified and maybe looking for property, just make sure you stay in contact with your lender and let them know of any changes that have taken place.
Great.
I think a lot of it with affordability index, and I'm looking at some of the questions on the side here, and John Cara, he said, with unemployment rates at record highs, how will an individual qualify? And I think that's where the big unknown is unemployment was very, very low. Housing supply was very, very low. But at the same time, this is a pause, and it's a pandemic we haven't seen before. So how quickly can we get everybody back to work? And it goes back to, okay, what are we doing to support local businesses to get our community back to work? How soon can we get people back to work? And what does that look like in the future? If unemployment does skyrocket or it does go up higher, and after all this is settled, then that is going to have an effect in the housing market. And it goes back to, even the question that Nathan, what is it, Narian? I'm not sure if I said that correctly, stated. Yeah, so he's talking about like what it looked like from '08 to now, and a lot of that has to do with inventory levels, and we could address that in a bit. But if inventories levels will go up if unemployment rates stay high and people can't purchase homes, and that affordability index will come down. So we're hopeful that we get everybody back to work, and we all have to be support local businesses as much as we can.
Let's talk about that, Daniel. 2 weeks ago, you kind of did a deep dive on the real estate trends. You looked at the housing inventory in our different markets. I know we received some questions from some of you in the Sacramento marketplace that wanted to know what the trends were there. And Daniel, why don't you give us an update on Stanislaus, San Joaquin, Sacramento market? What are you seeing on the trends?
Sure, I'll share my screen, and that's a big question that we all got a lot too. It's like people say, okay, I know that's what's happening with Central Valley, when we're covering San Joaquin County, Stanislaus County, and Merced. But what does the state capital look like? Like, what's that inventory look like? How'd that compare to '08? So I'll share my screen, and what I did is I put a screenshot, and I'm going to split both 2008 market, 2007 and 8 compared to today, in Sacramento County, Stanislaus County, and San Joaquin County, and hopefully this helps answer that question. So. All right, can you see this here?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this first chart, let's start. You know what? Let's start with Sacramento. Let me see here. This is Sacramento County. So if you notice, this is February 2007 to 2008, April 2008, and then this goes back over here, and it goes January 2019 to March 20th. Inventory level then, if you notice, it peaked at 16,600. Down to 8,400 inventory. This is homes that are on the market and available to purchase, compared to where the market is now, where there's 1,374 homes on the market.
That's 10,000.
What's that?
I think that's 10,000.
We're
at the peak for Sacramento.
Yeah, 10,000. Sorry, that was 10,000. So compared to now, where we're at 1,374. So again, Sacramento market, Sacramento County, which is the state capital, is also poised to be able to stomach this. 2008 was a way different market. 10,000 listings compared to 1,300 where we're at now. I mean, we had a huge problem with inventory. So in order for us to get there, we almost have to tenfold our inventory. Is unemployment going to do that? Can it double? I think even if it doubles or triples, we would be considered a normal market where we have a healthy amount of inventory, and maybe it goes from being a seller's market to more a traditional market, and that's okay. The big thing is getting people back to work. So we got Sacramento, and in San Joaquin County, you see the same thing here. This is the chart that we shared last time, 6,100 at the peak compared to 807. Very different market. This is again, same window, same time frame. And you notice the pending sales, even in the last month, has gone up. So buyers that are buying are still buying, and sellers that need to sell are going to sell. It's just how socially responsible can we do that? And can we bring the house to the buyer now? It's going to be an important thing. And here's Stanislaus County, which you start seeing here, the 4,500 that we talked about in last few weeks, and where we're at now, which is 600. So that's the difference between both 2008 to today. It's a completely, you can't even really compare them, right? One was a housing crash, and the other one, this is a pandemic, so it's a little different.
Can you go back to that stat that last page real fast?
Sure.
So even if you look at Stanislaus County, where at the bottom on the right-hand side there, where it says 371 homes sold with 599 for sale. So even if the market quadrupled, where you had 2,400 homes on the market with 400 homes sold, that's still 5 months of inventory, which is considered a normal market. So there would have to be a quadrupling of homes coming on the market. And even if we kept the same number, and Andy talked about affordability, homes are still affordable and there are buyers out there that are looking to buy. we would still be in a market that wouldn't really have a dramatic downturn or a dramatic effect, because that's still what's considered normal.
Yeah. And then I'm going to share one more thing too, just because we're talking, John had a great question about getting people back to work and how that's going to look like. And if we can't get people back to work and people need to sell their home now that maybe they've gone through forbearance or maybe they've gone through a modification or a refinance and they just can't get their footing back and they have to put their home on the market, a lot of the owners right now have equity in their properties, right? So you'll start seeing homes come on the market of people that actually need to sell, and you'll see that inventory increase. So what we're doing is every week we're tracking what that looks like how many homes are actually being added to the market, how many are coming off the market. We're tracking pending inactives and withdrawals, just so we could stay in front of it as well. And it's going to be even that much more important moving forward to kind of stay ahead of it. So I'm going to bring up that trend report right now, and I'm going to share that with everybody. So here is my screen. Share. All right, can you guys see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we pulled this one I pulled it as a 307. So an hour and change ago today. And you'll see this is Stanislaus County. So I just pulled Stanislaus County, 662 active. So what we're seeing here is the actual the amount of pending sales, right? So people are still purchasing. So you're still seeing some of that. So you're seeing 487 current pending contracts. And then I'm going to share one more chart here, which is our actual calendar here. Give me a second. Feel like we need music. All right, give me a second. Let me exit out of this thing because it's not allowing me to share. All right, here we go. All right, can you see this here?
Yes.
All right, so this is very important. It just kind of keeps the heartbeat of the market. Like, what's the beat of the market doing? We talked about it 2 weeks ago. So how we were starting to see an inventory decrease. So we're doing this week by week. So this is, okay, I happen to be on San Joaquin County. So let's take a look at San Joaquin County real quick. From our last call, which we were here, we're starting to see how many listings are being added on the market. Because, you know, if unemployment's an issue and if the market's going to be shaky, then we got to see, is there going to be an oversupply of homes on the market, right? Are people not going to be able to get back to work? Or people going to flood the market with listings? And it's just not what we're seeing right now, because people are more afraid of putting their home on the market because they don't want to bring people in and out of their homes. So you're seeing an opposite effect. And what you see here is how many new homes on the market, how many homes came back on the market. So that means how many properties are this week were added to the market, how many went pending sale, how many these properties went under contract and are officially off market, how many were canceled or put on hold, and how many listings expired. So then we did a total of what was the added amount, what was the off market amount, and we're seeing what's happening on an inventory level on a weekly basis. And if you could notice, San Joaquin County, they're losing 5 listings the March of 23rd to the 29th, 4 listings the week after that, and 21 listings this week, the biggest listing loss. So you'll start seeing inventory drop there as well. So again, it's something that we have to pay attention to. One of the things that we do see is some of the price reductions. People that were pushing certain price points, they're coming back a little more. And you see that as well in Sacramento. There you see a big drop at the last week of March, but you're starting to see them increase on inventory. But again, 7 in a week in the county, it's not dramatic. And same thing with Stanislaus County. You know, we had the largest amount of homes pulled off the market last week with 37. And we added 16 this week. So it's just something to keep an eye on when we're talking about inventory and we're talking about what's happening and how we're comparing both markets and just staying ahead of the market. So if somebody's thinking about selling or somebody's thinking about buying, you know, talk to your agent and have them talk to you and guide you through that process. You know, if right now is a good time for you and you need to move, then you know, you're gonna have a little less inventory. But
let's talk about that, Daniel. Let's say there's, you know, Aaron, there's a question for you on rental and investment property, but let's talk about primary residence. Let's say you're a couple, you're in your 30s, you're looking to buy a home and you're going to be there for, you know, next 10 years. With interest rates where they're at today, what advice do you or Andy have for them?
Sorry, I was losing a little bit of connection. Can you repeat that for me?
I said, let's say you're a couple in your 30s and you're going to buy a home. You're planning on being there for at least 10 years. Should go based on what Daniel just went over on trends on the inventory? Should they be buying today?
If you could, if it's within your budget, and again, this is where the budgeting kind of comes into place. Yes, you know, real estate is not an overnight thing, you know, where you're going to increase your net worth right away. This is a long-term investment. If you look at the history of real estate, this is long-term, you know, so you're banking on the fact that you're going to be there for the next 10 years. If you look at it and compare it to the renting side of it, which is the other alternative, you're going to pay somebody else's mortgage, you know, for the next 10 years, which increases your net worth by 0. So yes, absolutely. If it's within your budget and you could stay within your means, absolutely. I would personally do it, and I'm still doing it.
Andy manages a lot of our like some of the rentals that we have, and I think he'll confirm, like a lot of what happened in 08, the rents for a 3.2 on average were about $1,000, right? Right now, you know, they put a lot of money in our economy. Now we're sitting about $1,500-$1,600 a month for rent. They're doing the same thing and pumping a bunch of money in our economy. What do you think is going to happen to rents in the next 5 years once this economy kicks back off? So like Andy says, you know, you're locking in your lifestyle, because at the end of the day, if they're pumping money back into our economy, you know, rents will go up, minimum wage will go up, cost of construction will go up, cost of goods will go up, and at least you're at least doing the best possible to lock in your lifestyle within your budget.
You know, and just adding to that real quick, if there were a lot of people in 05 that purchased, and I remember talking to people in 09, I can't remember if we talked about this last week, 2 weeks ago, but where they were like, you're crazy for staying in your house. And yet we're 15 years later, the house is worth more. They're halfway through their mortgage because they could afford the house, they paid their house, and they didn't sell. And so there was no loss taken on the house. So if you're buying a house and you plan on being there for 5 or 10 years, it's a great time to buy. Interest rates are, you know, Sandra said interest rates are so low right now. It's a long-term game. If you're planning on being in a house for a week or a year, it doesn't make sense right now.
What did Sandra, I don't know if you can run this or not, but let's say, you know, a first-time home buyer is looking to buy a home for $300,000 today, and they're at a 3% rate. And let's say the market went down a few percent, maybe that's 285, but the rates went up to 4%.
Yeah, I just got your text. I just did the math. Yeah.
What are you looking at?
So that payment difference is roughly about $85. So I think the point being accurate, that sometimes people are concerned about property values increasing, but relative to where rates are, if you think about that point difference in interest, an $85, $90 a month difference in a lower purchased home but a higher rate, versus even though property values maybe have gone up a little bit, our rates are so incredibly low that you can afford to absorb that increase in equity in your interest rate.
Right.
So what you are saying is that it's $85 more at 4% than it is at 3%, even though the price of the home has dropped.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Aaron, what about income property?
You know, there's a lot of uncertainty in the income property market right now because of what's going on in our world. California has a moratorium on income properties and evictions until May 31st, and then the court system added 90 days on top of that. So in the income property market, there's just a lot of uncertainty. People just really don't know what it looks like and how the next couple of months are going to play out as far as people paying rent or not paying rent. The flip side of it and kind of the outside perspective is that I really think that most people are going to pay because they have nowhere else to go. We have a housing shortage. There isn't a plethora of rentals out there. So if they don't pay, they have to go find a place to live, and there just aren't a lot of places to live. So I know with the California Association of Realtors and with a lot of the property management companies right now, they're making people document their hardship. And I was talking to Liberty Property Management a couple of days ago, and they still have a really high rate of people who are actually paying their rent. So the answer that I have for investment properties, as far as a duplex or triplex or any of those, is that it's really too early to have a great answer of what the next 6 months are going to look like. Again, if you're playing the long-term game, then it's a great time. I mean, then yes, buying an investment property makes sense.
You know, and let's not talk about the rent. Even if the rent gets waived, it's like forbearance, right? It doesn't mean that you don't have to pay that back. You know, eventually, I've seen a lot of loan workout programs where they're like, hey, you could take a month off, or you could have an option to take 2 months on, but you increase your rent by $100 or $200 until you have a catch up, right?
Mhm.
So it's not a freebie like forbearance. So people say, oh, I'm not going to make my payment for 3 months and I won't have to pay it. No, you eventually have to pay it. But it's meant for the people that have a social and economic impact over this. It's not meant for people to take advantage of it. And I think for the most part, people are realizing that.
Mhm.
And I'll add a little bit more on exactly what you guys both just talked about as well too. I was on a call earlier today with Hillary with Liberty Property Management. She actually disclosed some numbers. Hillary, I hope you don't mind that I'm going to share some of these numbers just to give everybody some live numbers that we have. Liberty Property manages over 3,000 properties. Out of those 3,000, they had roughly 115 that had to pay rent late because of the coronavirus. Now, out of those 115, roughly 95 of those tenants have already paid their rent. It was a little late, but they worked out an agreement and they paid it. So if you run those numbers, that's roughly about a 3.5% out of the 3,000 that were affected. I've experienced that myself. Out of the 27 doors that I manage for myself, I had 2 of them that needed a little extra time. California Association of Realtors recently released a couple of documents that you could provide to your tenants, if they're having some kind of a hardship. Again, kind of like what Daniel just mentioned a few moments ago. This is not an excuse for tenants not to pay their rent. This will affect you, down the line, whether it's a month from now, 2 months from now, or after everything lifts and the moratorium lifts in the next 90 days, give or take a little bit. This will affect you, and it could eventually lead into an eviction, and you don't want that on your name. So work with your landlord. Landlords, work with your tenants, to come into an agreement. The California Association of Realtors came out with a couple of forms that you could utilize that break down a payment of how much you could financially afford to pay for the next couple of months, and then how much is going to be rolled over in a payment plan. So, if you're not aware of those documents, reach out to us, and I'd be happy to share those with you as well.
Mhm.
One of the questions, Sandra, what is the rule of thumb difference between principal residence and an income property on rates? How much more is the rate for rental property?
Sure. It depends a little bit on credit scores and
Of
down
course,
payment, but on average, say 0.75%
Okay,
higher for rental.
right.
Mhm.
And what is there anything on FHA, VA you want to talk about? I know we've got stricter guidelines on those.
Right. So just being in contact with your lender as far as any changes in debt to income restrictions or credit scores or things like that. Those guidelines are changing depending on your lending company daily as well. So just making sure that your individual loan, that you know exactly where you're at in the process.
Good. But what tips do you guys have just for buyers or for sellers or for agents who are watching? You guys are navigating this daily on a higher volume than a lot of people on this call. So what are you guys doing on a daily basis?
For me, is staying in communication with the clients that I'm currently working with at the moment, past clients as well too. For those in the real estate industry, update your CRM or choose a CRM if you don't already have one. This is the perfect time, to update your systems and get your processes into place.
Mhm.
And you have patience. A lot of the issues that we're having with sellers, and I have a listing I'm losing today. They're canceling it just because there's a lot of frustration, right? We're all in this together. Like, you can't take it out on the seller, you can't take it out on the agent, you can't take it out on the market. Like, we're all in this together, right? All of us. Right? The tenants can't take it out on the landlord, can't take advantage of one another. At the end of the day, it's gonna affect us all, and we're all trying to navigate it. But I think the biggest thing has to do with a lot of uncertainty. So in contracts, purchase agreements, when somebody goes into escrow, there's contingency periods and there's certainties that you could work within contracts to let your client know, hey, on the 21st day, contingencies will be released. The deposit will then be non-refundable, and then you could start scheduling to move. But a lot of the issues that we're seeing too, and the concerns that sellers have is Now we can't give them any certainty. We got the coronavirus addendum that allows extensions of contingencies. So use them if you need to use them, right? If there's, checking with your lender, check with your inspector, because if your inspector said they could get in there, then don't extend that automatically, because it goes for the listing agent where we're going to talk to our sellers and we're like, hey, this is the purchase agreement, and these are the contingency dates, and this is the assurances that we could give you that there's going to be certain timelines where they're going to release their contingencies, and now we can't give that to our clients. So sellers are having a hard time too, and agents are having a difficult time too, trying to navigate through this with some uncertain timelines. So for buyers and agents, if they're listening to the call, make sure that you check with your inspector, make sure you check with your lenders, make sure you see the timelines. I know we had another one today that in Oakdale, a home that we put in contract last week for $550,000. They're putting 20% down, and I think it's Scenic Oaks that's doing the loan, and they've waived the interior inspection because it's occupied, so they're doing a desktop review. So people are working around it. So sometimes the coronavirus addendum is not, checking everything off just because it might not be the best thing for the buyer or even for the seller or for the agent, because we can't provide any certainty.
And for me, it feels like 2008. Statistically, it's not 2008, but the uncertainty and the changes that are being made on a daily or weekly basis, that's a lot of what many of the experienced real estate agents that are in our market have already gone through and worked through. So I think the number one thing, and Andy and Daniel both talked about it, is communication. Whoever it is that you work with and whoever your professional is, you need to make sure that they're staying in touch with you, and that they're staying in touch with the lender, and they're staying in touch with the seller, and they're staying in touch with the inspectors and the appraiser, because everybody is just trying to get to the same point. But in this market, if one of them isn't communicating, it just puts so much stress on everybody else. So just making sure that as a buyer, that you're working with someone or that your agent is communicating with you. And if you feel like they're not, tell them that they're not. Give them the opportunity to fix it, because a lot of times their communication style is different than yours. And if you're selling your home and you're not happy with your agent, give them the opportunity to fix it, because a lot of times if they don't know something's wrong and that you're not happy, they think everything's great. So it's all about communication in this market, and then just being willing to roll with the punches. They're typically roadblocks. They're not walls. So when something happens, it's a roadblock that can be worked around. You just gotta be working with someone who can help you with that.
Aaron Custer in our Manteca office calls it the grace attitude. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Everyone has to extend more grace these days. Things are just going to take longer. They're going to get done more than likely, statistically. But
communication is different too. Like I had a conversation with how many times, Andy, Aaron, Sandra, have we seen the parking lot full of people coming in and signing disclosures and going through offers, going through everything? Everything was in person. A lot of it was in person. Now we have to do everything virtually. So even communication has changed for agents. So even having grace with the agent, or just being open, saying, like Aaron said, hey, I need a little more hand-holding here, or I need a little more clarity. But Aaron Custer, she's right. We need to have a little more grace with everybody. And then I think Lourdes she's asking a pretty good question. I think Aaron kind of touched on it. How are we addressing buyers that are holding off from purchasing a home right now? And that's okay, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's okay. All you could do is provide data, and people are going to wait, and that is okay. The people that need to buy and want to buy and have, like Andy said, a long-term budget and commitment to purchase a home, and they want to lock in their lifestyle, and they see something they like, and they understand all that, they're going to purchase. But there's going to be a lot of people that are going to sit on the sidelines, and then eventually, whenever they see how this market's going to shake out, everybody will jump back in. And I feel that the agents listening to this call right now, you better be ready, because when the market does open up, it's a springboard, and people are going to put their homes on the market, buyers are going to come out, and then confidence is going to come back, and then you're going to be working 12, 13, 14-hour days. So talking your client into purchasing right now is not the right thing to do. Let them get some space if they need some space. If the buyer is the right time for the buyer, then they'll move forward. If you just can provide them data and information, and you can make decisions based on real-time information, not hearsay or fear or anything else. It's just real-time information. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about the rates, if they go up a point or half a point, what that will affect on a payment. Have those kind of discussions with them. Let them decide whether they want to sit on the sidelines or jump in right now. I think that's a really good point. I'm sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
I was going to say one more thing to agents, because you talked about agents, and the good news is, just like the virus, is that this too will pass. Every day that we're going through this, we're one day closer to having a booming market again. And as an agent, it's an opportunity for you at home to reach out to all of your clients and just show them some love. Check in. Be the only person that calls them, because there's a lot of people out there right now who are really scared, that are all by themselves and they're locked in their house. And we as realtors have, most of us are pretty friendly people. We know a lot of people. There's a lot of people that aren't like that. So use this as an opportunity to reconnect with the people that are your clients, and be ready for the next wave.
You guys kind of answered this question. Joelle has a two-part question. What do you think the long-term effect will be on the housing market? The COVID-19, will there be a long-term effect on our market? And when do you think we'll be back to a normal market, I guess? So you kind of touched on that, but you may want to add to that.
I don't think we'll ever go back to what was a normal market. I think we're all forever changed when it comes down to this. And I think that's to be determined. And that's why these calls like this are so important, because what we're covering today might be completely different tomorrow, right? It might be completely different in a week from today, and 2 weeks from today. So it's just kind of having these honest conversations and then seeing where that takes us.
I agree with Daniel. I think a lot of it has to do with how long this pandemic goes for. If the shelter in place lifts and everything is back to norm here in the next couple of weeks, I don't think it's going to skip a beat. I think we're going to go right back into it, and probably even go into a seller's market, which we're still technically in. The word normal is it changes every single day. The new norm now is video tours and contactless showing. So every single day, the definition of normal is changing.
But in answer to that question, we're still in a housing shortage. For the number of people that live in California and really live in every state in the United States, there are not enough homes for people to live in right now. The last time we went to Reno, which is a totally different market, but they're building condo complexes, huge condo complexes all over the place. So, will the market change? I mean, there's a very real possibility that there will be some changes, but as far as, again, the fundamentals, there aren't enough homes. And as long as there's not enough homes, then we're going to have a strong housing market.
Great. You guys have any closing comments, closing thoughts for the group?
I think just have patience. The two hardest things that we all tend to struggle with is patience. In today's world, we want answers right away. We want to know what's going to be happening. We want to be the first ones to know about it. But the realistic side of thing is we're not going to know, and we may not know for some time. So having patience right now, and kind of what everybody has mentioned as well too, is just communication. Just stay in touch. Have constant communication. If you're in the market right now, stay in communication with your lender, with your realtor. Realtor, stay in communication with your clients as well to get those budgets. I know I keep bringing it up. Get those budgets in order. Real estate is not short term. You can make it short term, and you can make a lot of money in the short term, but the realistic side of it is real estate is a long term. And we know the real estate industry it goes up and down. So you just got to have patience and ride it out.
We got a lot of agents watching, and you guys keep touching on stay in touch with your past clients. Can you guys what's a specific thing you're doing to stay in touch? Are you doing pop-bys, Aaron? Are you guys making calls? What specifically are you doing?
Hey, John, it's Aaron West. I just wanted to call and touch bases with you and see how you were doing. It's a crazy world out there. And, is there anything that I can do to help you? Do you need anything? How is your family? And just really touching bases with them. And then, writing a note immediately afterwards. And just, it's, you know, Brian Buffini says, fundamentals don't change, tactics change, right? And the fundamentals is that we are in a people business, and we may have to change our tactics and do Zoom calls with people instead of knocking on their door and going face to face. But at the end of the day, every single one of these people here is successful because they stay in touch with their clients and they care. And so I think that's, you know,
Can I challenge all the agents that are listening right now? Because I know there's a lot of them. Don't just check in on your clients, check in on your other agents. Just call and just see how you're doing, right? This is a perfect opportunity to go deep in those relationships with the people that you work with, because they're dealing with the same kind of turbulence you are, right? And for me, it's almost, they say social distancing, but man, I feel like how many people are socially connecting in so many different ways. I think I've seen Ben's face on Zoom more than I have seen him in person in the last 30 days. So
it's
like,
way too much, actually.
we're doing so much social, like social media and social interaction. It's like proximity distancing in a way, but you know, reach out and have some fun and have a date night with another couple and do it on Zoom or on FaceTime or something like that, and then just keep connecting that way with your family.
You know, then my kind of closing thing would be is that this is a period of opportunity. If you're home, if you're staying at home, it's an opportunity to connect with your family. It's an opportunity to reach out to people on the other side of the country and really do a Zoom call or an interactive with them. If you're an agent, it's an opportunity to build your business by staying in touch with your clients. If you're a buyer, I mean, everybody looks at all the bad things that happen, but if you just sit back and say, where are the opportunities for me to make something good happen through all of this? That's where the real magic happens, because there's so much opportunity right now. I get excited about this market. It sucks being with a 15 and a 17-year-old 27 hours a day. But, you know, I know them better now than I did 2 months ago or a month ago. And that's an opportunity that 10 years from now, we'll remember as a really great, hopefully a really great experience. So that would be mine, is just to take this time, and instead of just sulking and being in your own bubble, look at where there's opportunity for you to expand who you are and your network.
And I would just say too, my favorite thing is our redefinition of what a hero is, right? Who are we looking up to? Who are we giving kudos to for what they do and the sacrifices every day? You know, do a double fold, order some food and send it to one of your clients or friends that's in an industry that they don't get to stay home, right? They're out there sacrificing for us every single day. My hope for everybody is that we carry that forward, you know, that we take that into the next season, because that's really what it's all about.
That's really great. Hey, I want to thank Sandra, Aaron, Daniel, Andy. You guys really stepped up with some great information. And hey, I want to encourage you guys, maybe turn off the news and call one of these folks or call somebody else. I tell my son all the time, you rise the level of people you surround yourself with, and surround yourself with positive thoughts and energy as these folks are talking about today. It will encourage you, and be an encourager to somebody else. There's more questions coming in. I'm sorry. Reach out to Aaron, Daniel, Andy, myself. We're here for you. So until next time, have a great evening.
I want to share one more thing before we shut off, though.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
I have to do this. It's too good not to share. So my wife and I are doing a course right now. Yale University is providing one of their best courses free online, and it's amazing. It's the science of well-being. So it's this one right here, and it's an amazing course. If you have time, like seriously, dive into this with your spouse or your kids. But Yale, this is one of those awesome things. And what better, this is like the timing couldn't have been best, because we go through emotional states where even I feel a lot of anxiety, and I'm like, forms of depression, right? And it really digs into why that is, and how you could just express gratitude and savor little tiny moments. But anyways, free course, Yale University. It's open right now. So awesome.
And we'll answer any question that you have. You'll be hearing from one of us or all of us or some of us to answer your question. So every question that got asked, we'll answer for you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Bye, guys.
All right. Stay safe, everyone.